when you look at these two cars, I have to have two different approaches, because even within rescue, there are full restorations, there are partial restorations, there are frame up restorations, there are frame off restorations, and then there's something I call restoration rescues. And that's a car that was at somebody else's shop. They already started on the car, and something happened. I don't get into the blame game, whether it was the client or whether it was the builder who messed up. I don't play that game, and I'm the smartest builder in the world. Now it's here. I don't do that. I don't know who did what. You know, I'm like the old folks. You got two sides of the story. Normally the truth somewhere in the middle, kind of thing. So I just stay out of that. But when you're doing a rescue, you have to be careful. You have to be very humble. I'm not an ego builder. It doesn't bother me. It's about satisfying the client and satisfying my inner integrity on the car. And so this restoration rescue, there's certain aspects of it we didn't do. There's certain aspects of it we don't have a full signature on it, if you will. But we rescued this car. We rescued this car from a bad builder situation. The owner was in deep water, didn't know how to finish the car, had goo gobs of parts, and how do I finish this car? And so they brought us this car, and we're pretty pleased and excited that just here in a little bit, this car will be headed home. But restoration versus hot rod, there's a difference. There's a difference when you're talking about preserving something versus cutting something up, just chopping it and gutting it and putting 26s on it and air ride and throwing the fenders away, dropping it down on his belly and then beating on your chest like an 8. That's not my thing. That's not what I'm into. I don't do slabs. I'm not interested in that. That's not my thing. That's not my gimmick. That's not what I do. My go-to is restoration. My go-to is preservation. My go-to is promoting the history of the automobile. I like exotics. I like domestics. I like imports. We like trucks. We like vintage. We like antique. It's all about the history. And when you're doing a restoration, what you need to budget for and what you need to understand is a big part of it. A big part of it is history. A big part of it is classroom. I would probably, if I had to just gauge a percentage, I would say 10% of the time when you're restoring a car is going to be spent researching and making sure that you're authentic, that you're correct, making sure that you're right, making sure that you're preserving the car. And especially if you have a one-off car, it may be as much as 20 or 25%, because you have to make sure it's right. And you can't just follow what the shop did around the corner or do a Google. I tell some of my new guys all the time, I say, how do you know that goes there? They said, I Googled it. Well, how do you know they're right on Google? Never thought about that. So it's a different ball game. So I'll give you one quick story and then I'll finish. We did a Cadillac recently, an 81 Cadillac, and our role was to do the convertible top on that 81 to make sure it operates, comes up and down. You know, but we didn't restore the entire system. We restored at the top. And so the client had some problems later on with the relay that, you know, goes to the switch that sends a message and the top goes up and down. So he takes it to a shop that's near him to get the relay fixed. So they look at the top. It was a hot rod shop. They look at the top. And remember, I'm hot rod. I love that. I got a hot rod shop right here. And so what they tell him is, oh, it has to be redesigned. It's the wrong design. This is inherently unsafe. Do you have kids? Do you have a wife? Do not put them in this car. The way GM designed this car, it is inherently dangerous in it. Come on, man, get off the gas. It's about preservation. It's about embracing that particular piece of history. That's what it's about. We're not trying to build an armored car. We're not trying to put airbags in the car. We want to preserve that example of history, that piece of history. So he gets an outrageous budget. Now remember, it just needed a relay. So he gets an outrageous budget for $30,000 of how they're going to custom fabricate a new frame for the convertible top. Nothing was wrong with his frame. Everything was fine. The relay went bad. And $30,000 quote, that type of thing. I say, hey man, you got to be careful. And you got to be careful when you take a restoration project to a hot rod shop. It's a whole different game, man. But if you're into restoration, you're into preserving what you have, you're into making grandma's car come back to life, making Papa's truck come to life again. This is what you do. You give me a call, we'll talk about it, and we will preserve your classic.